Ladies and gentlemen, it is grand final time of the ACL 5K. I'm the Maniac, joined by Mikester, and we have got an amazing grand final ahead of us. We've got the faction up against AVANT T1.
I mean, these players and these teams specifically have been in this situation before. They've been in finals time. Regardless how many 5Ks they've been through to these final stages, and they know what it's like. Now it's more about, well, let's go for the win. Let's go for those 5,000 pro points which are on the line here for this series. And I mean, just highlighting again, the faction taking on AVANT T1. You couldn't ask for a better matchup.
No, you really couldn't. Our first and second seeds heading into this one, the faction made up of Luca, Blue, Swifty, and the pickup of Buzzo, captain of one of the best teams in the country, Plantronics Mind Freak. And on the other side of the table, Mikester, we have
AVANT T1 featuring Hopi, Hysteria, Izze, and Wolfie. Of course, an incredible lineup for both these two teams, and you mentioned about Buzzin being the fill-in for the faction team, but you realistically couldn't ask for a better fill-in. I mean, you have the captain of a squad that came 6th at the Call of Duty World Championships, who just recently came back from Gfinity London. I mean, he's been all around the world.
Yeah, usually you get a pickup and you're like, oh, well, you know, they get a pickup. You know, you can't really hold it against them, but this time it's like, guys, you have Buzzin, LFG, let's do this. But, you know, they are up against AVANT T1, of course, Isse's team, which we haven't seen them on stream yet. I'm really excited to have them here in the grand final. As you said right at the start of this, Mike, so you couldn't ask for a better matchup. Those of you who don't know the updated lineup of AVANT T1, we've got Isse, Hysteria, Hopi, and Wolfie. However, we're kicking things off with the faction. We're on with Luca.
As we are going to be seeing him take out 1 kill before he does shortly for after that. Hysteria will be the one in this hard point for not too much longer, though, as he does get shut down. Kills just trading all across the board here. Swifty also falls in. I'm just hoping for that I can find a player that will stay alive.
Nah, yeah, GLHF with that one, buddy. This is retreat hard point. It is a TDM right here in the courtyard hard point. What's going to be important is they're set up for that statue or turtle hard point at the bottom left-hand side of the map. So in the next 10 seconds or so, make sure you keep an eye out for that. So, because whoever sets up for that rotation is no doubt going to be the team who is probably going to be taking the first few points on that one. So as you can see here, 10 seconds left in the hill, and it's going to be in control of the guys from AVANT T1. They're going to be trying to even things out before they rotate. And as you can see here, it's going to be Swifty who's going to be setting up for this statue hardpoint down in the bottom left, and he's going to be getting those first couple of points. As you can see here, right down the right-hand side of your map, over on that open side, you're going to be seeing a big sweep from the guys of AVANT T1. Swifty is going to be preemptively striking that one and taking down Captain Isse, which was a smart move. However, the guys from T1 are in control right now. Swifty has to go to work.
He does indeed, and I mean, you are going to be seeing, of course, that scoreline still be so close, tied on up right here. 90 seconds into this game, 30 seconds still remaining in this hard point. It is still going to be the faction who have control of this one, and I mean, Swifty just being able to just work off these kills. Of course, he's got 3 of his teammates as well on those 1 streaks. Players just going to be swarming as well. He gets one. He has one behind him. His teammates have his back, and he will finally get taken down there for that one. But, I mean, Hysteria, we've got him on your screens now. They're powerless right now, AVANT, to do anything here on this turtle hardpoint. They're just going to need to focus and setting up on this lobby.
You know, and they really have Swifty a lot to thank for that one. I mean, that early rotation and no one there was to challenge. And T1 coming around from that open side to try and do the sweep. But Swifty with that early strike, you know, it was really thanks to him that they got such domination on that hill. However, now we're over to our third hard point here in the lobby. So it's going to be interesting to see if these guys from the faction can continue to maintain this momentum. Now, I was looking at the bracket a little earlier, Mike. It looked like it was challenging on both sides. Arguably, you could say that the faction had the harder fight. And now that they've come through, I don't know if AVANT T1 have really had, you know, the bit of a struggle that we've seen on the other side of the bracket. However, they're trying to come back here now, 70-24, almost a 50-point lead to the guys of the faction here in this hard point. I tell you what, Mike, I was gonna ask you the question, but I already know the answer. But did you see it being this much of a blowout this early? I dare say we wouldn't have thought so.
I definitely didn't think that was going to be the case. I definitely thought AVANT were going to open up strong as well, specifically over onto that total hardpoint. But you just see, you know, the faction, they're just playing to their strengths, and they're able to just take these leads as they see them. I mean, Wolfie on your screen right now is going to be over onto this bar side of the map. And I mean, you know, you just see him just chilling over here, just getting these points. He doesn't really need to do too much until he needs to down in the grits of the battle. And I mean, that's because his teammates just have everything sorted.
Yeah, that's completely right. Now, I was just seeing there, Wolfie is just doing his best as he could. And look at this. I just saw a lot of kills come through from AVANT T1. However, those points did not move. It was such a well-rounded contestation from the guys over at the faction, just not letting T1 to walk away with any points. But now that the tables have turned, look at your scoreboard. That is climbing for the blue team. That's the Sentinel squad of their faction. They're capitalizing off their kills and doing exactly what they need to do to maintain this lead, which is now a full minute, might I add, Mike, or 1 second off, as we're now hitting the 6-minute mark. So we're almost halfway through this map, and there's a minute difference between these guys. Between the first and second seeds, I didn't expect this, and I dare saying that T1 just needs to warm up a little bit.
Yeah, that is 100% correct right now, as Wolfie is going to be on your screen. Now, I do want to just highlight this one point of the faction. You know, they're doubling, they're over than doubling the score of the AVANT T1 right now, but AVANT still getting these controls. They're still managing to find their way into these hard points. They just can't control them. So it's not like they're not getting any time at all. It's just that they can't hold the time that they initially get. Yeah,
that's exactly right, Mike. And that's what their weakness is right now. They really need to start, I don't know, it kind of seems too basic, but they need to stay alive. They can get in there, but it's just about their setups. They're not covering the points that the players will be coming in. They're not just really winning their really important gun battles that are happening in the hard point. So that's unfortunate for them. They're not losing it. Now, they're set up pretty nicely here, but it's only the last few seconds. We're going to be rotating back around to the courtyard and look at your mini-map, Mike. You've got 2 players from the faction already in a great position, and they're going to be going in and challenging the AVANT players who came through over from, I believe that's going to be from Towers. So they came pushing through there. And look at your kill feed right now. Actually, surprisingly, the faction, well, that wasn't surprising that the faction just tore it up. But the guys from AVANT are trying to answer back a little bit. But it's really not happening. It is now a 60-point lead, and it's still climbing for the guys of the faction. We've just hit halfway, Mike. It's early days, but I don't see T1 coming back when they're playing like this.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you on that one. I mean, 3 players down from them at the current stage as well. And, I mean, you have Hysteria right now looking to push on forward. Buzzon's going to be the one to take him down. It's very, very shaky shots. They're out of him. Still 146 to 69 points at this current stage. AVANT just trying to just trying to trickle on their points at this point in time. But, I mean, 4 minutes remaining, or just over 4 minutes remaining here in this hardpoint game. The faction, they're just going to keep on doing that.
Yeah, you just do you, the faction. Like, you guys are doing great. And, you know, that's big thanks to Luca and Buzzo. I mean, 25 for 17 and, well, both 25 for 17 now. Both of these guys are playing out of the skin. And look at your kill feed. It is still lined up blue. Blue one, blue one, blue. And it's still going. Swifty with a big 2-piece before Hysteria is going to finally shut that one down. But they've been playing great as a unit. We're back down here on this Sachi hardpoint. And this is where we saw him the first time around, Mike. Just getting all of those points. And it looks like it's a bit of a case of Groundhog Day here as they're doing it once again.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to having Hobie holding these points at this stage. Still 30 seconds remaining here in this Turtle hardpoint. And you can see the players from TF, they're just like, you know what, let's just converge over on this location. Just go nuts. And you can see every time they do that, they're just able to walk away with these kills. They do drop a couple of plays in the meantime, but they still have the majority of these players winning those 1v2s, those 1v3s if needed, and getting these controls. And I mean, the players off the respawns trying to go in, but after they break the initial setup, the only thing AVANT can do is push up in either 1s or 2s. They don't have enough players up at any given time to push up in any more than that. And I mean, that's why the faction keep on getting these points, because they win those initial gunfights that just chain up, and then they set up for the remainder.
There's nothing more to add, Mike. I mean, you're on the nose with that one, my friend. Those of you at home, though, it looks like that the guys from the faction are going to be taking this one pretty convincingly, unless a miracle happens for AVANT T1. But tell me, guys at home, tweet at ACL Pro with that hashtag ACL5K. Let us know who you think will be taking this series. Do you think AVANT T1 have the gusto to come back here in this grand final series up against the faction? Tweet at us, let us know. I might even give one or two of you a shout out here on stream here. If you're not doing so already, folks, make sure you're following this stream, mlg.tv/ACL, and also on the Twitter sphere to keep update on all of the action. These guys are, of course, playing for the 5,000 MLG Pro Points, which will go towards that international event at MLG at the end of the year, but also our ACL Brisbane and Sydney events, the previous of which will be in just 2 weeks' time, Mike says. So a lot of pressure on these guys to perform well here in this 5K.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 204 points, though, and counting to 94 now. I mean, I'm going to ask you the question. Are we going to be seeing the remainder of this minute 43 in play, or is it going to go down to a score limit?
I think it might go down to a score limit. I mean, excuse me, the way these guys from the faction have been playing, like, there are no words to describe how these guys have been playing. Amazing, brilliant. Incredulously, I don't know. There's a lot of words to describe how they've been playing, but let's just say good. They've been playing very good. 209 to 114 with a minute and 12 left on the clock. It is pretty much, well, it is impossible for the guys of AVANT T1 to come back. So this first map in a very, very comfortable fashion, going to the guys of the faction.
I mean, not only that, but they've just stamped a lead here in this series for this grand final. It's going to be up 1-0, and then moving on to a search and destroy on Biolab, they're going to be having, you know, a little bit more of a comforting factor. They can, like, you know what, we could end this series if we really wanted to in 2 maps.
Yeah, they could. That's right, Mike. And I mean, what's the possibility of that happening?
I think if they play the way they are now, very, very high.
Very high. So our job could be done and dusted in just 1 map in 30 seconds. That's pretty interesting to think about.
Actually, 2 maps in 30 seconds.
2 maps in 30 seconds, sorry. 2 maps in 30 seconds.
Really close, close. Very, very close. And I mean, that could be, you know, I don't know.
Well, look, it's gonna be interesting to see. This is what I'm saying. It's always entertaining to see a whitewash when it's 2 very close teams. You know, if it goes 3-0 between the top 2 seeded teams, that's still amazing gameplay. I mean, someone's either just completely dropping the ball and have just, I don't know, lost their vision and just started playing absolutely bad, or someone is going amazingly well. And I mean, I think I got to go to the latter. 2 40 bombs for the faction. 45 for 29 with 7 caps to his name, Luca. I've said his name so many times today, and it still just rolls off the tongue. Luca. He's been playing amazing. He always does, and he's bringing his A game today, Mike. 238 to 136 is your final scoreline. 102 points. When have you seen AVANT T1 drop by over 100 points on a hard point?
I can't recall the time. But I do also want to point out, if your sub drops 40 bomb, you're doing something right.
You've picked up a good sub if your sub's getting a 40 bomb up against AVANT T1.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely did a great job. And I mean, that's not discrediting the AVANT squad either. They did play well at certain points. They just weren't able to hold those hills. They weren't able to get those points on the board. And I mean, you can see that scoreline. As Maniac mentioned, you know, it was quite a comfortable victory for the faction's sake. They go up 1-0 in the series, though. And I mean, this could be a precedent for the remaining maps, or it could just be an additional incentive for AVANT to come back and play a lot better. Yeah,
it really could be. Well, I think it has to be when you've got like Captain Irsay gone 21 for 40. I mean, I think he's just really, you know, he's just wiping the tide out of his eyes. The teams before this may not have been too much of a challenge for them. Now they're going up against the big boys here of the faction plus Buzzer. I mean, I dare say they're going to be waking up to this one. Now, of course, T1 have always been known for how well they play S&D, and that's going to be our next game here in this grand final series. So, guys, make sure you don't go anywhere. Make sure you're on the Twitter sphere using that hashtag, which is hashtag ACL5K. We're going to be back right after this.